Evening guys, Danny here, just bringing you another up-to-date video. As you all know, patch 5.2 is finally out. Yes, all the speculations and what is going to happen, how shit our warrior is going to be, how many people are going to stop playing, and blah de blah de blah de blah. Still not quite sure with everything, but just going to cover the basic things on live now. Obviously with PTR things can change up until the last minute, so now we're on live. The season obviously hasn't started, still a week to go, but the ability changes and everything else has taken effect, so let's just get a recap and get into it. The first thing I like to cover is the biggest change in our so-called rotation, which is the change to overpower. As all you guys know, and if you don't know, you'll find out now, overpower has been redesigned. Now whenever we use Mortal Strike, we gain 2 stacks of overpower, and that we can either let it stack up 5 times, or we can use it how we please. Overpower still has a 60% chance of critting, and it can't be dodged or parried, which is a good thing. The main concern I would say with overpower really is time it pretty well, in the sense, be careful you just don't keep stacking it and spamming it one after the other, one after the other. You do want to be getting your slams in. A slam does do 210% weapon damage, up from 190%. So keep a balance of how you use it. You know, I wouldn't suggest just get 5 stacks and just spam and miss out your Mortal Strike. You still want to be keeping your Mortal Strike on cooldown. It does seem pretty nice. 5 stacks of overpower, let's just spam and just get some pretty good numbers out. But be careful in how you use it, especially if we're going to be in arenas, and with the rage cost to overpower, it's not free no more. Rage will be pretty scarce when it comes to that. Sitting in battle stance, it doesn't feel that bad, it's pretty decent. So yeah, that's the buff that we've got to overpower. I'm currently testing overpower out with Bloodbath. Reason for that is, with Bloodbath being on a minute cooldown, Trinket being on a minute cooldown, and with the stacking of overpower, I just find it'll work pretty well. Get like 4 stacks or 5 stacks and get a colossal smash up and spam some of those overpowers with a 60% crit chance. I feel we'll do some pretty good damage and some good pressure, but obviously time will tell how good Avatar is and how good other things are. But currently I'm just testing out Bloodbath. I find it's doing pretty well at the moment, so I'm going to stick with it for the meantime. The next change that's come about is the removal of Deadly Calm. Deadly Calm, for you that don't know, which if you play a warrior, I'd be worried if you didn't, it reduced the rage cost by 10 of your next 3 heroic strikes. So ideally you would like get a colossal smash up, use Deadly Calm, spam a few heroic strikes just to get some pressure up. And we used to spam quite a lot with our burst, with recklessness, skull banner, trinkets, etc, etc. But now I find heroic strike being pretty scarce in the game. I don't see us using it as much in a PvP environment. I just find that we're not going to have much excess rage to be using heroic strikes. I think heroic strike is more going to be a PvE ability and a PvE thing. With the colossal smash up, I think people will spam a few heroic strikes in PvE, but in PvP I just don't find it it's going to be that useful, or people using it, because the increased damage to slam and the stacking up of overpowers and the rage cost to overpower. I just don't see how we can fit it in. It's like I'll use one or two now, just to give you a rough idea. You know, I'm rage staff there, sitting in battle stance, hitting a level 85 dummy. So with no more deadly calm being in the game, it's going to be quite a wasted ability, just like cleave and whirlwind and stuff. So that's going to be another major point in our overall damage, I think. The next so-called major change has been a pretty decent one, has been to Warbringer. Your charge also knocks a target to the ground, stunning it for 3 seconds and reducing its movement speed by 50%, 12 seconds. So ideally, usually we would charge and we would get a hamstring up, which obviously costs rage. Now the good thing is we can charge, but we don't have to worry about putting a hamstring up straight away, because our Warbringer stun would put that slow on the target. So we'll have some rage spear at the beginning to use on other abilities, and obviously once that drops off, then we can either reapply hamstring, or once we use our Warbringer charge again, and reapply it again. So that's been a pretty decent change in my opinion so far. The next change, everyone obviously knows, the nerf to defensive stance. Decreased damage taken by 15%, generates 1 rage every 3 seconds while in combat, so the rage factor is still the same. The damage has gone down from 25% to 15%, which we'll just have to see how it plays out in the up and coming weeks to the new season. The biggest change has been the nerf to shockwave. Some say it was needed, some say it wasn't, but it's come, so there's not much we can do about it. Shockwave is now on a 40-second cooldown, which I think is going to be the biggest Achilles heels, if you want to put it in those terms, for a warrior, because it was a very good offensive pill and a defensive pill. We used to be able to catch people in shockwave, kill them, put a bit more pressure out. Now obviously if 3 targets are together and you shockwave, it's on a 20-second cooldown, but I don't see that happening on many occasions where 3 targets are one on top of the other and you can shockwave them. But you shockwave them and you have to do damage to them, that's the key. You can't just get them in a conal effect, your shockwave has to do damage to that target. But I still see it being the strongest ability. Dragon Roar, it's never really been a PvP thing. It's just for fun, not on a serious level. Some people might decide to take Blade Storm with you can't be disarmed anymore, and it's good to break out of roots and stuns and things like that. But with the 1.5 minute cooldown and a 40-second cooldown on Shockwave, I still see many people playing with Shockwave, even with the nerf. So that was the next ability. They did play around with Second Wind, but thankfully our health is still going to regenerate 3% per second, below 35%. The only difference is we generate 15 rage over 10 seconds, where we were generating 20 rage over 10 seconds, so it's a 5 rage reduction, but I'm sure we can live with that. The heroic leap has been nerfed. There's no more 100% increased damage on it, but I still feel it will be good. We still have the reduced cooldown on it, so for peeling and for our mobility, it's still a very good glyph to take and still to use. The next thing that's been changed really is the sudden death proc. Before, our sudden death used to proc off our mortal strike. Now it procs off our auto attacks and strikes of opportunity. Now strikes of opportunity, as everyone knows, is in conjunction with our mastery, so the more mastery you have, the more strikes of opportunities. So the more chance we have of resetting the cooldown of our Colossal Smash. So I think Mastery will be a bit more efficient than it was last patch. And also Sudden Death, your execute hits have a 100% chance of making any overpower free for 10 seconds. Which is a nice little buff to add in from Blizz there. So with the haste effect, having 50% increased haste, I still feel that the way to go is going to be crit and mastery. Crit is always our best friend. Crit enrages us, enrage gives us increased damage, and our overall damage increases with that, so crit is definitely always going to be the number one stat. After that I still feel mastery will be way ahead of haste. It always has been, and I still feel it always will be, with the opportunity strike damage, which is quite decent, and with the sudden death proc change now, it will still be a very good stat to reforge into, and definitely would stick with that. Haste, nice to have. Our auto attacks will swing a little bit faster, but no way as good as crit and mastery. So overall, those are the few changes that have come about. Still think will be decent. There's a lot of people moaning and complaining. Yeah, slight nerf, but overall the playstyle is still the same. The damage is still effective in my opinion. But we'll judge more on that as the season comes about, as we progress. If there's any questions you guys have, just leave them in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I will be testing other things as time goes on and bringing it to you guys and updating you with any changes that come around. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit the like, thumbs up, subscribe if you already haven't, and I hope to speak to you guys in the next video. As always, Danny here. Bye. Tell me.